right? As
So
the actual
I got an
theologian.
abstract question for the two of
Yeah,
you.
that's not nice.
There's no right or
Yep.
wrong answer because it's purely about taste. How do you two feel about God in science fiction?
I mean, listen, the science fiction authors, contemporary science fiction authors, don't fill me with confidence in their ability to creatively handle something. So my biggest distaste with science fiction is for things to be trite. Because science fiction is so exploratory, it's so rooted in like concept. Concept is the basis for so many great stories more than any other aspect of storytelling. So for them to trot out God and do something trite with it, it's just vomitous. It feels like science fiction. We can talk about this like, after LA answers, but it feels like science fiction authors are sometimes afraid to be great.
Yeah, I definitely say so. And in my opinion, with the idea of divinity, is that I have no problem with religious characters in fiction, and I have no problem with them, ascribing divine cause to specific actions. I think that's very grounded, and it's a good representation of humanity's diversity and variance of opinion. And that wouldn't necessarily end when we hit space either. But my main gripe with this is, one, like, in terms of theologically, there's a lot underpinning these ideas, and there's a lot of speculation and philosophy that goes into discussion of God. And that is not something a lot of science fiction authors understand or care about, which makes,
Right.
yeah, like Ryan said, the depiction's extremely trite and basic to somebody who actually knows about this stuff. And my second gripe would be, it often feels then you're wading into the realm of science fantasy, that either God is just a really big alien, in which case, okay, cool, or it's like actual God, and in that case, it's effectively magic, which takes a lot away of science fiction's potential to really explore plausible ideas and use scientific innovation and theory to tell stories when you're explicitly not doing that and you're resorting to magical thinking instead. So I'm pretty much against it in all options. I've never seen it done well.
I believe I've seen depictions of religion done well. I can't say that I have ever read a science fiction book that actually dealt with like an objective, like a discovery of God that even the most hardline skeptic would be unable to refuse. I don't think I've ever read that. And maybe a viewer to this will just be like, oh, you uncultured swine, here's a dictionary of them. But it's extraordinarily rare. It's like sci-fi authors are allergic to touching on it because they think they'll be science fantasy.
I think there's too much philosophical heavy lifting required. I mean, so much of this is just dressed up schlock. I mean, this book sounds pretty conceptually interesting. I wouldn't expect science fiction authors who are already doing some physics, like heavy lifting by including physics and mathematical concepts, to try to trot out religious philosophy.
I mean, I plan to include religious philosophy and themes and revelations in my writing. Eventually, my novel does not currently get there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think also some of this, yeah, I'd say definitely it's just a lot of work to do all of these things well, without it just seeming like fantasy hand waving.